Hello to you all and a very warm welcome to the Visordown YouTube channel, where today I, Ollie, will be bringing you another juicy top 10 for you to lap up. And we've got a grand one for you as well, because we're throwing off our fairings and getting a little bit intimate with the best of the naked motorcycles you can buy right now. And we're not just hanging out with any old naked, we've got the super nakeds and the hyper nakeds right here. Quite what defines a super naked and a hyper naked is up for debate, but we're sure there are some marketing bods out there who will tell you otherwise. But we can assure you the engines are big, the power figures are beefy, and the looks are scandalous as your internet browsing history. So join us as we bear all, so to speak, with the top 10 best super naked and hyper naked motorcycles on the market. Don't forget to wear your sunscreen. Off we go. The Ducati Monster has never quite been a full-bore powerhouse super naked, instead being more roadster all-rounder with lashings of Italian V-twin character and style. But the latest 1200 S, and particularly the previous now deleted R, make this a convincing stab at it. Only the S remains with its liquid-cooled twin, producing 145 brake horsepower, plus plenty of mid and low-down grunt and pucker Olin suspension. Plus there are 3 switchable riding modes of traction control and ABS. Ultimately, it may be no intensely focused sports roadster, but the bison-humped monster is not far off. Ducati has recently updated the Monster formula with a fresh ethos for the trellis frame-free 937cc version, so watch out for a similar treatment to the 1200 at some stage. Yamaha's super naked version of its brilliant R1 superbike has never quite received the recognition or acclaim its abilities deserve, in our view. Nonetheless, the arrival of this SP version, complete with semi-active suspension, colour TFT dash and uprated switchgear, certainly turned things up a notch. The engine remains punchy, while it remains comfortable, practical and ergonomic, so much so that Yamaha even adds a Tourer version with panniers and a high screen. At more than £15,000, the MT-10 SP is a little on the pricey side, while even fellow MT counterparts make it look a little long in the tooth now, after a big update for the slightly smaller MT-09. Expect a replacement in the next 12 months. We had to wait a little while for it, but the BMW S1000R was finally given an overhaul for 2021 to bring it into line with the sister S1000RR that arrived back in 2018. Gone, thankfully, is the mug-eyed front end in favour of a slightly more traditional single headlight unit. Though while it makes the new bike look a little less gawky, it does have a hint of R1250R about it. That S1000RR derived unit means fans of the bike will have 165 brake horsepower on tap, while an updated assisted slipper clutch is now available together with an engine drag torque control. The fully configurable Dynamic Pro mode is also available with a wider range of setting options as part of the Riding Modes Pro option. It satisfies with the BMW loyalist perfectly, but it isn't the most exciting selection among some accomplished rivals. Big H has never had any trouble when it comes to practical, comfortable, sensible motorcycles, which is probably why the Japanese giant has always struggled when it comes to building bonkers badass ones. A decent all-rounder but lacking some character, the CB1000R is a superb all-rounder but not exactly a super naked. Nonetheless, the latest version updated for 2021 does get close to the brief, and if it doesn't exactly make its ties to the acclaimed new CBR1000RRR very known. The now very recognisable Neo Cafe styling remains in evidence, to the pleasure and disdain of people, and the update also introduced the flagship Black Edition, which isn't any sportier, but looks fantastic in its modest but stealthy all-black livery. There is still 143 brake horsepower on tap, which means the CB1000R won't be winning any drag races in this list, but it's refined and has a sporty undertone. The CB may not quite be a true fire-breathing, rip-snorting beast of a super naked, but it's classy, it's fast, it's entertaining, and that's more than worthy of its consideration. Italian exotica specialists MV Agusta are famous for its fierce, power-packed super naked brutales, so the return of a new 1000cc version for 2020, 4 years after the demise of the old 160 brake horsepower 1090RR, was big news. It's been updated for 2021, but the changes are minor, with little change to the delicious styling, which blends elegance with aggression in a way only MV Agusta knows how. Better still, MV Agusta continues to keep refining the package further, with the brand new Serie Oro now available, packing featherweight carbon and a power jump to 212 brake horsepower, albeit with an even bigger hike to the price at an eye-watering £38,000. And if you're feeling really flush, then the limited edition Rush version is the ultimate supercar of superbikes. Having sorted through the super nakeds, we're now getting into the business end, where super just isn't superb enough. Meet the hyper nakeds. Okay, so it might be more PR bump than anything, but some manufacturers have run with the idea of hyper nakeds to the extent there is now a core group, beginning here with the KTM 1290 Super Duke R. For 2020, the KTM 1290 Super Duke R received a major update, but didn't get more power and instead improved refinement and manners. It's certainly now a more rounded machine and just as potent, but in this ranking it suffers slightly by simply not standing out quite as much as it could have, and also from oft-repeated KTM criticisms about slightly suspect reliability. If that wasn't enough, now we have the 1290 Super Duke RR, which, guess what, again doesn't up the ponies, but it is lighter and is tuned to be sharper in the bends if you happen to be out on track. At number 4 is Aprilia's naked version of the superb RS4 superbike, the Tuono, which has been impressing with both its performance and class-leading electronics for almost a decade now, and is regarded as the best of the super nakeds. Updated for 2021, the full bling factory Tuono has remained arguably the best real-world performance bike you can buy, even though it's now aging against newer opposition, even with the latest updates that brought tweaked styling, Euro 5 compatibility, and tasty tech trickling down from its MotoGP effort. The naked version of the Ducati Panigale V4 sports bike has a mind-boggling 205 brake horsepower, a fabulous chassis, and yet, thanks to a slightly extended swing arm, it's impressively stable, roomy and practical. In fact, dynamically, it's probably both the most extreme and yet also the most calm and cultured when you want it to be, which is basically why it ranks so highly here. However, on the downside, and this is subjective, Ducati or not, surely no one brought up on the 851 and 916 will think this is the most beautiful Ducati ever built. And despite all of its brilliance, at just shy of 20k for this S, it's rather expensive too. Our reigning champion has taken a little slip to second for 2021, but if you want your nakeds more cling to the handlebar bonkers, you just can't resist the zing of a supercharger, the Kawasaki Z H2 is still a terrific purchase. In your face, aggressive and loud in the same way that Ducati or MV is chiseled, refined and poised, while you're unlikely to sway anyone towards a Z H2 if their heart is set on a Streetfighter V4 S, spend a bit of time with the Kawasaki and we can guarantee it will at least leave a very favourable impression, which some, including us, is more than enough. At its heart is its supercharged party piece, the Revy 197 brake horsepower Z H2 that proves a worthy sibling to the ballistic H2 fully fared sports bike. In all honesty, any one of our top 5 could line up differently depending on what you prioritise most in a motorcycle. Whether it's the Ducati Streetfighter V4's engineering prowess, the Aprilia Tuono's sporting attitude, or the MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR's well-finished finesse. However, while the jagged edges of the design, though unashamedly Kawasaki, won't be to everyone's taste, there is otherwise little to fault the Z H2 once you dig below the surface. Better still, at just over £15,000, it is excellent value. So while the Z H2 might be the wild child turning up to a dinner party with a 6-pack of beer, while you may think you crave sophistication, you know you'll end up having a plenty of honest, fast fun on the Kawasaki and pocketing some spare cash. And now for our winner, the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. As far as updates go, the Speed Trip represents a leap over its predecessor in all areas, whether that is specification and ethos, which is enough to get our nod here. Spotting the shift towards a more hyper style of naked, while we were stopped short of classing the Speed Triple 1200 RS as a manic sportster like the Z H2 or 1290 Super Duke R, it's brought enough of the benefits from models up top and below to create a wonderfully complete package. The big news is the ramped up triple-cylinder engine, which has been boosted beyond what anyone expected with 1200cc at its disposal, cranking out 180 brake horsepower. While the price has jumped to reflect the upgrade, the Speed Triple 1200 RS brings a plethora of tech and equipment, while everything feels superbly screwed together. Indeed, if the Ducati Streetfighter V4 is the premium choice, the Z H2 brings the thrill of a responsive engine, and the Super Duke 1290R has the agility of a race bike, then the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS wins here because it combines all three of those qualities in one attractive package.